All right. Hello, everyone out on Facebook. Hello. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, streaming on the YouTube channel, and I'm on Zoom. If you want to join me on Zoom, come on in. It's very easy, tinyurl.com/get a clue. Another installment of Get a Clue in 52. I'm coming to you live from a fantasy football draft party. Raise your hand if you are in fantasy football and had your draft this weekend. Labor Day weekend is a lot of fun, a lot of parties, a lot of people getting together. It's great to see as long as everybody's being safe and healthy. Oh boy, is it great to be around people that you love. So I'm having a weekend full of that. And I will tell you as we get started, before I get started, that I expect tonight to be brief. Tonight is the 1 year anniversary of me losing my father. And so that's been on my mind a lot. And I could get into a lot of thought about it and a lot of emotion about it at any given moment, but I want to stay consistent. That's what he would do. That's what he'd want me to do. So I'm going to go ahead and read tonight's tip after I do a summary of the tips in tonight's section. But I just wanted to just state up front that it may be a very brief session tonight. And there's plenty of time left in the year to go deeper and talk more about other tips. But tonight is tip number 36 overall, which is number 4 in the sales section. And by now, hopefully, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections of the book. And we started the year with communication. Then we went into marketing. There's 12 tips in the marketing section. I had 2 extras, so I'd have a full year's worth. That way, once a week, I've got something new to talk about. And it just worked out really nicely like that. Anyway, 12 tips in marketing, and then we went into networking section, and now we're in sales. So tip number 36 overall is number 4 in the sales section. 16 tips left in the year, 16 weeks left in the year. Labor Day weekend, we're moving into a new season, right? Kids are getting back into school if you're safe and healthy. Schedules are stabilizing a little bit, let's hope. Football is starting. That's always a sign of times, if you will. Winds of change are blowing. Seasons, we're about to change clocks. The holidays are coming. It's a fun time of year. I hope you guys are enjoying each other and your family and your friends and your loved ones, and the continual progress of things, right? Seasons change, and we're moving from summer towards a beautiful fall. Now, here we go. Let's go ahead and review what we've talked about in sales so far. Tip number 1 in the sales section is to build rapport. Rapport is more than just looking at something on somebody's desk and saying, "Oh yeah, me too." Rapport is a shared belief that you're both on the same page, a shared understanding that you know each other, at least one of you knows the other, which is all it takes. If you, the person that's selling, you really work hard to feel like you know the person, and then they feel like you know them, you've got rapport. That's what you're searching for. It's a knowing. It's not a recognition. It's not a coincidence. It's not an in common. It's a knowing. That's tip number 1, build rapport. Tip number 2, diagnose. And, right up front, coaches, leaders, advisors, brokers, agents, consultants, trainers, advisors, mentors, supervisors, directors. We're not doctors. So full disclosure, diagnose may not be the best word, but the idea is to find out what the person wants and needs. What do they want? What do they need? Is what they want the same or different than what they need? Can you help them get what they want in order to get more trust to finally get them to what they need? And can you get agreement? Do they agree with you on what you think they want and what they need, on and on and on? So diagnose, but it's not just assessing, and it's not just your opinion. It's you're searching for agreement, because when they agree on diagnosis, then you've got permission to move forward and try to treat, if you will. Tip 3 is get leverage. Leverage is like, leverage is physically, it's like a tool that gives you more power than you'd have on your own. But behaviorally, or if that's a word, or emotionally, motivationally, it's getting the person associated to the pleasure of changing or acting or behaving or taking action, and the pain of not. Right? The pain of staying the same, or doing the same thing over and over again, or being stuck, or not taking risk or action or chance, or not setting goals, or not being vulnerable. making sure they know that's pain, and making sure that taking action equals pleasure, right? To move forward, to what are you doing to improve your life every day? Well, you need leverage. You got to get them associated to the pleasure of making change and the pain of not making change, right? So there's a great joke about that. Like, the guy, there was like an old man sitting in a rocking chair and on the porch, and the dog was next to the guy in the rocking chair, and the dog was howling and barking and howling and barking. It was going on minutes, half hour, hour, 2 hours. The dog's just barking and howling, but the guy's just sitting there rocking in the chair. And all the neighbors are looking out the window like, what's going on? This dog's going nuts. Oh my God, there must be a problem. And finally, one neighbor has the courage to go and to confront his neighbor and say, excuse me, your dog has been barking and yelping and howling and screaming and crying for hours now. What's going on? And the guy in the rocking chair says, well, the dog happened to sit down on a 9-inch rusty nail that's sticking up out of the porch. The neighbor goes, oh my God, no wonder the dog's in pain. Oh my God, I'm sorry. It starts to walk away and then stops and says, well, wait, whoa, wait a second. Goes back to the guy and says, why doesn't the dog get off the nail? And the guy just keeps rocking and says, must not hurt enough. So that's like a funny little joke. It's a funny little story, but leverage is when it hurts enough, or when you recognize how much it hurts, or when you recognize how much it's going to hurt, or how much it might hurt if you don't change and do what you need to do. And in sales, when somebody wants to buy something from us, when somebody's in front of us and thinking about buying something from us, we have to know how much pleasure is waiting for them if they do, and how much pain is waiting for them if they don't. And we have to help them understand that if we're going to move them towards the decision that's right for them. That's leverage. All right, I digress. Tip number 4 is what we arrive at tonight. So that's a review of the first 3 tips in the sales section. So tonight, here we are, tip number 4 on page 86 in Get a Clue in 52, coming to you live from the fantasy football draft party, wearing an old school LaDainian Tomlinson jersey. The pool is behind me. The lights are on out here. I hope you can see me okay. That everybody's inside, away from the mosquitoes. I'm going to be bitten up tomorrow, but that's my sacrifice that I make for you guys. All right, here we go. Let me go ahead and read word for word now, starting on page 86. This is tip number 4 in the sales section, but tip number 36 overall. All right, drop the SME. The step here is simply to demonstrate your subject matter expertise, parentheses SME. The only real coaching for tip number 4 is to really know your stuff. The more thoroughly you know exactly what you are selling, the more mastery you will have with this tip. Rookie or just plain bad salespeople only learn their pitch, so it comes out the exact same way every single time, canned and with stinky commission breath. However, your complete mastery of every detail of your product and service will allow you to highlight the exact features that match or solve the prospect's pleasure pain relief seeking benefits. Benefits was in parentheses there. I hope you have a copy, your own copy, $20.20 on Amazon. Follow along. But I use a lot of parentheses and dots to break up my thoughts, and I type stream of consciousness. So I hope you have the book in front of you and you're reading along as I read word for word. Let me go ahead and get back into that and finish out tonight's tip. Therefore, this tip is to have more than one pitch, to have every possible pitch. So what you are pitching is calibrated to the specific pain pleasure points you discovered in tips 1 through 3, parentheses, rapport, diagnosis, and leverage, and parentheses. If you can customize your pitch to the needs of the prospect, you will achieve more sales. One other key here is to present enough content and subject matter expertise and strategy to establish credibility in your knowledge and believability that you can meet their needs, but not so much that you fool them into thinking they do not need to move forward with the purchase or investment. I'm going to slow down and say that again. And I'm going to say this not word for word like it's written in the book, but I'm going to say, hey, look, in the sales process, we need to give them enough subject matter expertise where they know and believe and feel 100% that we know what we know and we can help them and we've got it. But we can't give them so much of our subject matter expertise that they think, all right, thanks, I'm just going to go try this on my own now. They're going to mess it up. You can't let them do that, right? I can talk to a plumber for 8 hours. I'll still never learn enough in 8 hours of talking to a plumber to be able to be successful at doing my own plumbing. I just don't have the skill set and the expertise. But a lot of people will talk themselves into thinking they could do something themselves, and it's your job to let them know that if they could have done it, they would have already. So find the balance between giving enough subject matter expertise to establish your credibility, but not so much that you fool them into thinking that they don't need you because you gave it all away for free. That doesn't help you and it doesn't help them. And we could talk more about that at some other session. Let me get back and finish up tonight's tip. All right. Have you ever seen a movie trailer and immediately afterwards said to yourself or out loud, quote, well, I don't need to see the movie now, end quote? There it is, right? Believing that the trailer had already shown you everything and or the rest was the rest, I got to put a T in there on rest, right? Either believing that the trailer had already shown you everything or whatever you hadn't seen is still predictable based on what the trailer had showed you. But back to word for word, say the rest was predictable or not worth the investment. Yeah, well, don't do that with your stuff. I'm going to read the back again just so it's a little more fluid. Here we go. Have you ever seen a movie trailer and immediately afterwards said to yourself or out loud, quote, well, I don't need to see that movie now, end quote, believing that the trailer had already shown you everything or the rest was either predictable or not worth the investment? Yeah, well, don't do that with your stuff. All right. So, and then there's a little picture of me in front of a whiteboard. No whiteboard is safe if I'm in the room. This was tip number 4 in the sales section, number 36 overall. Next week, we'll get into tip number 5, know yours 1, 2s, and 3s. Really, really, really great conversation. I won't be so heavy-hearted next week. Well, I might be, to be quite honest with you, because today's the 1-year anniversary of my dad passing. But 3 weeks from now will be the 1-year anniversary of my mom passing. So I'm kind of in this like month-long kind of spiritual cleansing, healing, I don't even know how to describe it, but I'm in it. And I appreciate every one of you that has gone through it or is about to go through it, knows what I'm going through. I appreciate anybody that doesn't know what they're about to go through, that wants to know what you're going to get into. I feel capable and almost called to help anybody that's dealing with losing their parents. So if you are, or if you see that on the horizon and you want to tap into anything that I've learned in the process of watching my parents' health fail, being the person responsible for cleaning up matters, compartmentalizing my own emotion while I had to be the responsible adult in the room, and then the year of wisdom that I've experienced in between last year and now, knowing that they aren't here when my kids do something and I want to share with them, they're not here. And one of the things that helps me get over that is that they're up there making sure my kids do well and they already see what they're doing. I don't have to share because they know. And I could go on and on and on, but let me just go ahead and digress. And thank you guys all for joining me on an installment of Get a Klu in 52 Labor Day weekend. Tip number 36 overall, number 4 in the sales section, the 1-year anniversary of me losing my father. 3 weeks from now, it'll be 1 year since losing mom. But they're together and they're dancing, right? They're, love conquers all. It's a beautiful thing. I was thinking about and writing earlier. Love conquers all. That's great. And till death do us part, right? But we know that right now 50% of divorce, 50% of marriage, or more than that, ends in divorce. But not my parents. And I'll say that. Like not even death could separate mom and dad. They say till death do us part, but not even death could separate them because dad passed a year ago today and mom went 3 weeks later. So they're both like giving the middle finger, like, screw you, death. We're still together. We're still dancing. We were meant to be, we'll always be. So anyway, thank you guys all for anything that you're doing to support Get a Klu in 52. I love you guys. I love mom and dad. And we'll see you next week. All right. Good night.